Could you survive 24 hours as a knight? Take a second and look down at your own hand. Now make a fist. That hand has never gripped a weapon built to end a life, but today it will. You wake in the black cold before dawn, on the stone floor of a keep. Somewhere beyond these walls, an army is already on the move. And almost everything you believe about the man you are about to become is wrong. Forget the slow, clanking tin can. By nightfall, you will know what truly killed the knight, and it was not a braver knight. First, the truth the movies never show you. It is not yet light, and two servants are already strapping you into war. Arming a knight is not something you can do alone. It begins with a thick, quilted jacket called a gambeson. Then the steel goes on, piece by piece, from the feet upward. Plates for the feet, the shins, the thighs, the chest, the shoulders, the arms. Every piece is buckled, so it bends with your body, not against it. And here is the first thing almost everyone gets completely wrong. A full suit of battle armor weighs only around 25 kilograms. About the weight of a large, checked suitcase, but spread evenly across your whole body, not hanging off one arm. This is not one rigid show. It is dozens of plates, joined by rivets and leather. You can raise your arms, bend, kneel, twist, even run. One French knight in full armor could climb a ladder from the underside using only his hands. Another could leap straight into the saddle without touching a stirrup. The story that a knight needed a crane to mount his horse? Invented centuries later for fiction. So no, you are not a man trapped in a tin can. But this armor hides a far crueler trick than its weight. Every stride and every swing costs you more than double the energy it would without it. And nearly all of that price is paid by your legs, hauling steel with every step. Fight for only a few minutes in this, and your lungs will be on fire. The steel will not crush you. It will do something worse. It will slowly drain the life out of you. Now, the part that took far longer to build than the armor, you. A knight is not born. A knight is made, and it takes 14 years. You were sent away from home at just 7 years old. As a page, you waited at a lord's table and learned to ride and swing a wooden sword. At 14, you rose to squire. You shadowed a real knight everywhere, scouring his armor, minding his horses, riding at his side. Picture a 14-year apprenticeship where a single mistake can get you killed. And only at 21, if you lived through all of it, were you finally made a knight. A bath, an oath, a sword laid on each shoulder, and the boy you were is gone. But there is a hidden cost to all of this that almost no one ever talks about. The most expensive thing you own is not your armor. It is your horse. A true warhorse, a destrier, costs 7 or 8 times an ordinary horse. The finest could swallow nearly your whole yearly income, the price of a small farm. Fewer than one warhorse in 20 was ever a real destrier. And you did not ride to war with just one horse. You brought about 5. One to fight on, the others to travel, to haul armor, to carry supplies. Add the plate, the weapons, the servants, the food. A knight was not a single soldier. He was a private army, paid for by one family. This is why knights were noblemen. Almost no one else on earth could afford it. You are not just a warrior. You are a fortune, wrapped in steel, sitting on a horse. And in a few hours, that fortune will be gambled on an open field. But before the enemy, by mid-morning, you must survive your own side. The field outside the castle fills with banners, color, and noise. The tournament. You might imagine this is only a game, a sport, a show. It was one of the deadliest things a knight ever did. 2 riders, 2 lances, closing at the combined speed of cars on a motorway. A lance strikes with the force of a small car crash, aimed straight at your chest. Men were hurled from the saddle, trampled, even speared through the eye slit. At a single tournament in Germany, in the year 1241, dozens of knights and squires were killed in one afternoon. Kings themselves would die this way, not in war, but in play. Yet this was no waste. It was how you trained, won fame, and grew rich. Beat your opponent, and you could claim his horse and his armor as your prize. Lose badly, and you might never walk again. Now the sun climbs to midday, and it is your turn. You drop your visor, and the whole world shrinks to a single slot of light. The signal falls. You drive in your spurs. The ground hammers. The other rider swells huge in your vision. Impact. Wood shatters against your steel, and your whole skull rings like a struck bell. But you are still in the saddle. You have survived the game. And there is no time to breathe, because a messenger is riding in hard from the east. This is the moment all 14 years were forged for. By afternoon, you sit in a long line of steel-clad riders at the edge of a muddy field. Across it waits the enemy host. A knight's true weapon was never really his sword. It was this, the charge. Picture a wall of armored horses, each a quarter-ton of muscle, man, and metal, slamming into a line of men at the full speed of a gallop, all together at once. It was the medieval world's freight train, built out of blades. Almost nothing on foot was ever meant to survive it. The horns cry out, the line begins to roll forward. A walk, a trot, and then the whole earth is shaking beneath you. You lower your lance and lock your eyes onto one man. Wind tears past your visor, mud flies, your heart slams against the breastplate. And then you hit their line like a hammer smashing through glass. For a few seconds, you are the single most dangerous thing alive on this field. This is why the world trembled at knights for 500 years. But look, there, on the low ground, at the men dressed in brown. They are not lords. They carry no fine swords, and they wear almost no armor. They are farmers' sons, holding tall staves of wood. And those simple wooden bows are about to end your entire world. You haul your horse around for another charge, certain of your power. You have trained your whole life. You wear the finest armor money can buy. You are the apex of this battlefield, the living tank of your age. Everything you have ever been told says men like that cannot bring you down. And everything you have ever been told is about to be proven wrong. Because as the light begins to fail, the sky itself goes dark. So, could you survive 24 hours as a knight? To have any real chance, here is everything you would need. First, you would have to survive the arrows. At Crécy, in 1346, English farmers raised the longbow against the pride of France. They loosed thousands of arrows into the sky at a single command. The shafts fell like black rain, and they did not care in the slightest that you were noble. A single arrow could split mail, or slip clean through the gap in your plate. At Agincourt, in the year 1415, French knighthood pushed into that storm through deep mud. As many as 10,000 Frenchmen died there, and among them, much of a nation's nobility. The English, most of them common men, lost only a few hundred. So to survive, you must be strong enough to fight in steel for hours, rich enough to afford the armor and the horse in the first place, skilled enough to win the charge, and lucky enough to dodge every falling arrow. Strong, rich, skilled, and lucky. Fail even one of those, and the mud is waiting to swallow you whole. So the honest answer is this. You might survive the day, but the age of the knight was already dying. Because here is the truth the legends always leave out. The knight was not brought down by a greater knight. He was brought down by everyone else. For 500 years, war belonged to the rich, to the man who could buy the horse and the steel. Then a cheap wooden bow in a farmer's hands made all of it worthless. A weapon almost anyone could learn to use ended the reign of the armored elite. The knight did not vanish because men turned into cowards. He vanished because war stopped belonging only to the wealthy few. And that is the real story buried inside the shining armor. Not a fairy tale of heroes, but the moment power slipped from the few to the many. So look down, one last time, and open your fist. You are never going to be saved by the steel, the horse, or the noble blood. In the end, what truly changed the world was a weapon simple enough for your own hand to hold.